Hey folks, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of the Rush Hour podcast. We have updates regarding the Epstein files cover-up as Deputy Attorney General Blanch has met with Ghislaine Maxwell, the surviving assistant to sex trafficker, and I guess she is a sex trafficker, to Jeffrey Epstein. What does she have to say? Will it be relevant? And why is this a massive, massive conflict of interest? We'll be sharing that. Plus, Jerome Powell actually completely cuckolds, I guess is the word to use, Donald Trump as he fact checks him live on air. We'll share that clip. And then we've got South Park, the $1.5 billion episode. Now, that they didn't spend $1.5 billion in making the episode, but they've got a new deal that went through with Paramount for $1.5 billion. Donnie is not going to be too happy when he watches it. It is insane. And I've only seen clips, but it's absolutely insane what they did on their show. And I'm going to share some thoughts on that. So let's dive right into Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch. He posted this on Twitter. Today I met with Ghislaine Maxwell, and I will continue my interview with her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time. Now, I think it's fine that they meet with her. I think they should air it all like a podcast episode. I don't need any cuts. Get a little simple green advertisement, sneak it in there, do whatever the hell you need to do. But we want to know what the hell was said. These behind closed doors meetings are not good for transparency whatsoever. Someone responded, the conflict of interest is off the charts. You represented the felon Donald Trump as his private lawyer. You as Deputy Attorney General should be nowhere near Maxwell. It's not surprising that these meetings are closed. And someone said, you met with a convicted child trafficker? Why? The DOJ already has thousands of pages of evidence. Survivors don't need Ghislaine's revisionist history. The survivors and the public deserve transparency. Release the complete files with only survivor names redacted. No deals. I mean, this is some big stuff. Here's what Chuck Schumer had to say regarding what deals may be done with Ghislaine.
Sending Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Todd Blanch, to interview Ghislaine Maxwell while she's in prison, a woman who's been convicted of abusing people, to offer some kind of corrupt deal so that she can exonerate Donald Trump, just stinks of high corruption.
Wow. I mean, they used to speak so subtle about the sort of, my colleagues, the president, no, gloves are off. Gloves are off when you see what's actually happening here. And I don't blame people for finally growing a pair and calling it what it is, high corruption. Here we have, and by the way, there's been this sort of idea that, if there's Democrats in the case, no, they're not going to want to release it. Bro, release it all. Release it all and let the public do with it as they may. Wall Street Journal is dribbling out new information that Bill Clinton was actually one of the letter writers for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. Again, Donald Trump denied being in it, but there's other people that have been named as part of this quote-unquote book. The book in question is actually in the property of the Epstein estate, which means it can be subpoenaed, and they can actually see that Donald Trump actually did contribute to this book. Have a listen.
Breaking moments ago, new reporting from the Wall Street Journal sheds more light on that book Ghislaine Maxwell compiled for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday in 2003. The book that contained a letter bearing Trump's signature and had the outline of a naked woman. The Journal now has details of other letters in that book, including former President Bill Clinton, Wall Street billionaire Leon Black, fashion designer Vera Wang, and media owner Mort Zuckerman. That's according to documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. More from the Journal's reporting.
And by the way, like I said before, just because these names are in the book does not mean they committed any crimes, but it's important to call it for what it is and look at this and say, Bill Clinton's been on the Lolita Express, right? He's been on the plane. Bill Gates, there's been plenty of people. Did they go to the island? How long were they there? What else? Give us more stories so people can piece this together, because there is no trust and there's no transparency. Just a side story. We had to share this. Of course, Trump has wanted to fire Jerome Powell for a long time now. Again, the head of the Federal Reserve, the chairman. And here we have, I guess Trump is touring this construction site, and the cost is, he's going to describe how much the cost is, and it's over budget, apparently. And Jerome Powell says, let me read that. And he fact checks it in real time. And they have this interesting spat. It's just really funny because you could already tell Jerome Powell didn't want to be part of this PR video that they were doing. They kind of sucked him into it. But have a listen to this. Funny stuff.
We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses, wanted to figure out why.
So here's Trump doing Elon Musk's job, really. He doged the head of Doge. Here's Trump trying to see why can you imagine this? Can you imagine the micromanaging that the president of the United States wants to tour a construction site to see why he's like, oh boy, your shift's over. You guys are going to go back to work. The hell is going on here? Trump, release the Epstein files. Okay, big guy? Or, get us some concepts of a healthcare plan.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
So the budget was 2.7 billion, and Jerome Powell's looking at him like, your numbers are all wrong. You're off by $400 million.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
So if you're listening on the audio, here's Donald Trump pulling out a piece of paper that has the $400 million surcharge, I guess, to the bill.
3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
This reminds me of people at dinner like, hey, who got the appetizer? Are we going to split this bill right? Jan, you bought the whiskey. I just had a draft beer. I don't want to split it 50-50. They're just looking at it. He's got his glasses on, Do we tip 18%?
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is.
So Jerome Powell says you're including the Martin renovation. You added a whole new building. The budget was 2.7. You included a completely different building.
Third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
And now Trump says, breaking news here, it's a building that's being built. Jerome responds, it was built 5 years ago.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Jeez.
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire him.
Well, you know what I would do, Trump, if I had the choice with my vote? Someone who added trillions of dollars of debt, taking millions of people out their health insurance, giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy. I'd fire them, President Trump. That's what I would do. You idiot. You little idiot. So he stages this whole thing, I guess, to publicly shame Jerome Powell. I guess this was supposed to be his little sly way of saying, oh, you're not good with your finances, and maybe that's why we're going to get rid of you. I mean, it was a fascinating...
When they say...
Fascinating and wild stuff here. All right, here's another story that's interesting. This is somebody who's calling the continuation of the schizophrenic approach to governing, that being the executive branch.
I think the main issue that people need to focus on is the schizophrenic approach of the Trump administration to this issue. On the one hand, they are saying we want to be as transparent as possible. And on the other hand, they're saying we're not releasing anything. So they, on the transparency part, they say we want to be transparent and we're going to go to court and we're going to ask judges to release grand jury transcripts. They know that the law on that issue is dead set against them, so they can blame the courts when they say No. It's also in grand jury transcripts, the actual proceedings in the grand jury are the area where it's least likely that Donald Trump's name appears. By contrast, the part where they're not turning anything over is all of the voluminous investigative material.
And again, the part where they're not turning anything over, we had to, people in Congress had to take matters into their own hands and do a surprise last-minute subpoena. And they did that. They subpoenaed the Department of Justice. And here's kind of the framework of what they expect to happen next.
Now by Pennsylvania Congresswoman Summer Lee, who you just saw earlier, who introduced the subpoena today. She's the ranking member on the Oversight Subcommittee on Federal Law Enforcement. It's great to be here. You've had a hell of a day. So thank you so much for being here. So a lot has happened today, and I just tried to outline it. The full Oversight Committee said is going ahead with the subpoena. What happens next?
Well, next, after Comer signs it, right? He said it. He has to sign it. He signed the one for Maxwell within 24 hours. So he says that we expect it. Then the DOJ has to release those files to the federal law enforcement ranking subcommittee, to the minority and majority, and we go from there. But right now, what we asked for were the unredacted, complete files.
Folks, these are heroes. I don't mean to be hyperbolic here, but these are heroes. These are people that are not accepting what's being told of them, and they are doing the work of the people. Now, we'd love to see this happen every day, right? We'd love to see this happen every day where the folks in Congress, they come together, they fight for healthcare, they fight for, the budget that restores social programs to the middle class, things like that. But hey, we'll take this as a start. So White House is now clapping back after the premiere of South Park mocks Donald Trump. Now, here's what's interesting. We know that Stephen Colbert's Late Show has been canceled. Not just him, getting fired. The show itself has been canceled. They've got like 10 months left. Apparently, when it comes to Stephen Colbert, they're actually talking about pulling the show, possibly. Sources say pulling the show sooner because he's kind of going off the rails. So people say. Now, off the rails, of course, it's like that's all relative. By off the rails, they mean criticizing Trump, right? And this cancel culture that he and his coalition so fought hard to, the other side wants to cancel you, the woke this, they're that, when in fact, we've got Trump canceling anybody that he has leverage over, really. So he has to approve this merger, Paramount being sold to this company, and it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar merger. It's a big deal. And, the idea being backdoor that he wouldn't approve the merger unless, it was like a coin flip, unless they got rid of the Colbert Show. Stephen Colbert Show. Well, South Park just did a deal with Paramount, who's going to be part of this merger, which has not gone through yet, for $1.5 billion. South Park is iconic. I don't know how else to put it, right? It's iconic. It is a show that it takes jabs at all types of people on all sides of the political aisle, culturally. I mean, it goes after anybody. And it has decided to go after Trump in a way that I can't even properly describe to you guys right now. Our good pal Danielle, who runs the social media at the Rush Hour with Dave Neal, who, by the way, right here on Instagram, we have a TikTok. It's like literally we created it today called the Rush Hour with Dave Neal. So it's on Instagram and TikTok, same wording, but we have the Instagram right here. So you'll have to literally go watch it. They refer to Trump's privates as minuscule, and they use his own face in this parody, and it's absolutely wild. Now, fans of Trump are saying, they went too far, or South Park's no longer relevant, which couldn't be further from the truth. If it wasn't relevant, why are we talking about it? And why did Paramount just pay $1.5 billion with a B, $billion for the streaming rights? So the White House is firing back. Here's what they had to say after Donald Trump was there sitting with Satan. And the last time they did this, I believe it was Saddam Hussein that was sitting with Satan here. So, I mean, and by the way, they took jabs at Donald Trump. They took jabs at how he's canceling Colbert. And what they really did was they said, look, we're going to go as hard as we can on Trump, because we know we have the power, the freedom, the First Amendment right to do so, and he can't touch us. And if Paramount decides to fire them here, then Paramount's going to be at $1.5 billion. White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers tells TMZ, this show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas in a desperate attempt for attention. President Trump has delivered on more promises in just 6 months than any other president in our country's history, and no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot streak. I don't think anybody believes South Park is a fourth-rate show. It is the talk of the town. You can go check out the clips that we shared there on the Rush Hour with Dave Neal on Instagram. And we'll be back this afternoon, as we are every day, twice a day, every day. Pop culture, politics, everything in between. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.